Yo, what's up guys? We're back with Shiunji Family chapter 51, and yeah, we're just gonna hop straight into it. I was a little lost on Banri's whole character, so I went back and read some of the old chapters just to refresh myself on what we've really gotten out of her character. And what it looks like is they've been on like two mini kind of dates, not really. It was basically just Banri poking fun at Arata, and then they had the little waterfall trip where under the waterfall Banri said, "I like you, Arata," right? But some interesting stuff that we have gotten out of her character is that while not explicitly said before like the most recent chapters, was that it was implied that she had a boyfriend, right? I'll pull up the panel, but in one of the panels, she was on one of the dates with Arata, and they were deciding to go somewhere else for the date, but then she gets a text, right? And then her whole mood kind of changes, and then she says, "Well, we can't really continue here. I have something to do." Right? This was kind of like the first glimpse of Banri's character that we got that wasn't her usual self, right? Very like kind of outgoing and teasing all the time. It was a more serious side, and this was kind of the first time that we got it. Why this is important is because of the chapter's contents, right? Chapter 51, we get some more Banri lore and some kind of disturbing stuff with her character. But yeah, we'll just hop straight into it. So basically we started off the chapter with all of the other girls, all of their sisters and Arata having like a little group family meeting discussing Banri's boyfriend, right? And they're all saying, oh, they didn't know about this. It's giving us the impression that Banri hasn't told them for a reason, right? And that becomes a lot more clear through the end of this chapter. Like in the end of the chapter, we kind of understand why. But basically right now, none of the girls really know about him. Of course, they didn't know about him as well. But yeah, they're all like, I mean, it kind of does make sense. She is pretty popular. What this has for the series, I'm not too sure. I mean, we do need a full Banri arc, so maybe that's where we're leading in this direction. That's what it kind of seems like. We've already gotten the arc with Minami, Kotono, I mean, kind of. And then we had the Seiha, and we also had the Oka arc. So, last girl, Banri, makes sense. We get a little dialogue from Seiha saying that when she was talking to Banri, her phone rang and she immediately left, like she left pretty quickly. So basically the girls want to know more about the boyfriend, right? And Arata says that he was acting a little distant with her when they were out and about. It's like none of them really know anything, but they're just trying to assume off of basically Arata's judgment. So basically the conclusion that they come to is that, oh, they're just probably early in their relationship and that they can just get the details later. And yeah, that's kind of about it. Arata goes and asks where Banri is right now, and they say that she's out, right? And then this sparks up a little conversation about, oh, she's probably with her boyfriend. It seems like Oka's not too worried about it, saying that it's probably normal for, you know, a college student. But yeah, Arata is still suspicious of it, right? He doesn't fully trust this guy, and he gives off a type of energy, I guess. Basically, during this time, Arata's thinking, like, back into the past when he was talking to Banri about, like, kind of indicators that things weren't going so well in her, like, romantic life, right? I don't know if it's just because it's a fan translation, but basically in the series pretty early on their first date, right when Banri was leaving, there's like different translations of it, but essentially it was like kind of saying that you're too young to understand kind of vibe. That was kind of what I was getting off of it. And to me, this is just kind of Banri saying that, hey, this is my problem. I want to deal with it by myself, and I don't want to get, you know, my family involved in my romantic life, kind of. Because the thing is that even though, yes, they're all siblings, and well, I mean, they're not really siblings, but they grew up all together, right? And they act very familial with each other. They don't really have any parent figures in their life, right? So it's kind of just a bunch of kids in different ages kind of trying to help each other out. And it really seems that Banri just wants to take this like all on her own. And Arata's, you know, he says, I want to be a little brother that you can depend on, right? He wants to be there for his family, basically. And that's kind of what he's thinking in his head right now. He basically just thinks something's up, right? Because back in the past few chapters, like back basically before this whole little arc, Banri never mentioned anything about a boyfriend until it was kind of too late, right? Where Arata literally sees this guy in front of his face. So I think it's just something that she kind of wants to keep hidden, but as we see later in the chapter, that is probably not for the best. And then yeah, after a while, Banri comes back and she's in the shower. Arata's there. I guess maybe he was trying to go to the bathroom or something. And then, I don't know why, but he decides to open the door to the bathroom. Or not open the door, but just peek inside to make sure it was her. But yeah, just a little whatever moment. The thing is with Banri's character is right now in the story, every single one of the girls has confessed their feelings in some form or fashion to Arata. However, Banri's, he didn't hear hers, right? So he still thinks that Banri is like his only safe haven in this like crazy environment, because she did her confession under the waterfall and he couldn't hear, while all the other ones directly stated to him, or if it wasn't directly stated, he overheard it. So yeah, basically he's just at a point where like he's not looking at Banri in some weird light. He's just genuinely concerned. Arata just decides to wait outside of the bathroom, and Banri goes and steps out of the shower, right? And what we hear is her whimpering a little bit, like that she's in pain. And then yeah, Arata hears this and then barges inside to see what's up. And then we get a panel of her having marks on her arm. How could this have happened, right? She was just at her boyfriend's place, right? And I mean, that's what we're implying here. So she's probably in some type of relationship that's not the most healthy, right? And yeah, Arata tries to bring it up, and then Banri just, tries to run away from it. He even asks, like, was it that guy? And she doesn't respond. She's just being passive, just kind of not saying anything. But she eventually says, I'm fine, please don't tell the others. Arata says he won't, tell anyone. And then Banri turns around and says, I told you, right? It's still too early for kids. I'll have to go back and see, but I'm pretty sure that this might be just like a translation thing. If it's not, that's even kind of crazier. But yeah, if we're taking Banri's words at face value, saying it's still too early for kids, this could lead to a whole crazy situation going on in Banri's character that it's almost drama that really doesn't even feel like it should be part of this series, right? Seems a little more on the extreme side of this, rom-com type genre, but I guess it would make for a really interesting character, to be honest with you. Something that we've never really seen before. But my hunch is that it's just like a translation error, and it's more saying that it's too early for kids, like for you kids to be a part of it kind of thing. Like, you guys don't need to be dealing with my troubles right now. That's what I think it is, personally. If it's both options, I mean, they're not fine, right? Of course it's not fine, but in terms of story-wise, context-wise, both are interesting, right? Both are interesting. And yeah, Banri walks away, and we kind of just leave off the chapter there. And then we do get a color page, which is really cool, of Oka and Banri. But yeah, that's really about it. What does this mean going forward with the Shiunji family, right? To me, I'm thinking that, of course, we're gonna go get a Banri arc. Just as I said before, we've had every single other girl have their whole development arc with Arata at this point in the story, except Banri. She's had the least amount of screen time in the story so far, and we are 50 chapters in, so it does make sense that we're gonna get some of her. At this point in the story, I'm not, it's still so early to tell, but yeah, I went back and read it. Oka has had the most screen time, has had the most arcs about her, but that can always change in the future. But I have not seen really any hints of who's going to be the promised girl. The only thing that I can kind of go off of is one of the chapters did show that Arata did have a child with one of the characters, and it did look like they had lighter colored hair. This could just be them getting old. I'm not too sure. But the kids seem pretty young, so I don't know. There's a lot of things. I was trying to look up theories for the series, and I guess there's one room 8, because I guess when they all showed their rooms, there was one room that was empty. But in my opinion, I think that's just, I don't know if that's really gonna have any significance in the story. Really not too much else to say other than that. Shiunji family is actually getting drama in the story that isn't just classic nisekoi, quintessential quintuplets tomfoolery, so I'm all for it. So yeah, I'm not too sure if there's gonna be a chapter next week, but yeah, I'll cover it if there is, and that's really about it. So, yeah.